All right. Hello, Fourteenthers Brothers and Sisters. Welcome back to Ministry Revealed. It is April 14th, 2025. And today I decided we're going to need a little bit more time with the dual calendar putting it together. I know a lot of people like to see the calendars and to go into that and but I've always said it, right? You guys know the most exciting part is the revelation of Jesus Christ, the mysteries that have been being revealed for the last over 7.5 years now. And it shows that a lot of people aren't quite as interested in the stuff that's the most beautiful, which is the revelation of the Lord. Look at these views, 1,300 views in the last 5 days plus in the chapters to Gospels from Isaiah. An incredible revelation, a new mystery, and 1,300 views. Look at this one. This great one with the three little children, the revelation of First John, and 1,600 views. And it's my fault, and I know it's my fault, and the reason it's my fault is generally because when a date we've been high watching comes and goes, and we put our nose back to it and we dig into these things, I tell people where I foresee the coming pre. And I pay the price because sometimes it was a year before, and then a bunch of people dropped off. And then this one was 10 months, now a little over 9 months, something like that, maybe less. And people just don't like to hear it, which proves that so many people are just watching for the day to go. And it sucks. I don't do this for myself. I do this for everybody that the Spirit leads. And all I want is for more and more and more people to understand, to see the mysteries that have been revealed, the understanding of prophecy as never before. But, I don't hold back with you guys. I've never held back mysteries with you guys. If I've understood it, I bring it forward. And for that, we pay the price with less people wanting to watch. We pay the price with less support coming in at a time when the ministry has grown and we need support more than ever before. You know, man, it's awesome because we get to be a part of this, but the roller coaster ride of emotions is sometimes pretty sucky, But I want to say also that I am so grateful because of everyone who does stick around. Those who really do diligently search, those who seek and search these things out. I've said it before. We sometimes, it's been several years, right? And we get a little bit complacent because we know these revelations now. We know the mysteries, the keys that have unlocked it all. And so it's like, yeah, more revelation when it should be, oh my goodness, this is flipping awesome, man. More revelation. That's the way we should approach it, right? And I try to approach it like that all the time. And I generally do because I could never be more excited in doing teachings when there's more revelation, new things being revealed, more books being opened. I can never be more excited. But that when I see stuff like this, I just feel this little punch in the gut, right? Because I know, as you guys know, we just want to reach more people. And I know that these in-depth things, this going into the books of Isaiah, the chapters of Isaiah, to reveal the chapters, to reveal the books of the Bible in what they reveal prophetically, I know new people aren't going to get it. That's why I always talk about the intro series, and we'll get to that in a moment. That's why I always talk about the intro series. But for those that have been around for a while, this is our bread and butter. These are the types of things we love to go into, to draw closer and to piece more parts together to understand this detailed layout of the end of days. And I know that there are still many of you out there that love it, that love digging into the Lord and being diligent and seeking and searching him out in the revelation of his prophecy. And for that, I am grateful. I love you guys. I love you all. I love everybody. Okay. But I really appreciate you guys, and you know, we will keep going no matter how many people are watching. And soon enough, the Lord will make the season and time known, and that's when our real work will begin. So we will continue to prepare, to continue to seek and search and watch and pray until that time comes. And um, talking about the support, anybody who would like to support, you can go right here, this link in the Ministry Revealed. This is our P.O. box. It turned out that I mentioned it before. I forgot to renew the mailbox. I think I was so excited in the February watch that I forgot. First time in over 7 years, but it is active. It is in order again. So if anybody wanted to mail anything, you can go that direction, or you can use PayPal right here. Another place is when you go to the website. We'll go into it in a moment for another reason. You can click the PayPal right here, or donate to the mission right here. It'll take you to PayPal as well. All right. So I like to bring that up just as a reminder. Sometimes, there still is a ministry all over the world, especially throughout here and in Uganda, and we want to make sure we can continue to provide, because that's where it's growing the fastest, guys. That's where it's growing by leaps and bounds and tens of thousands. They just don't all have access to be able to watch hours of teachings on YouTube, so they do it from the scriptures with Cindy's Salvation book and with the Ministry Revealed book to understand the prophecies and the words better. All right? So, excuse me. So with that, you know where I'm going. I'm going to the playlist. So let's get going to that playlist right here. If you're new to Ministry Revealed, I always recommend everybody come to this playlist link and click on this intro to the end times. When you do that, it'll bring up this playlist. There's 15 videos in here. I don't recommend you watch all of them right away unless you just get so enthralled and you want to dig in deep. Go ahead. But these first 4 teachings right here are the key to understanding what's been happening here for over 7 years. It is the revelation of the end of days as it has never, ever been understood before. And this first one is a 22-minute intro right here to what the next 3 are going to go into. The second one is just a 30-minute introduction Bible study to the revelation of what we call who the Gospels are speaking to. And a lot of people say, there is no such thing. The Gospels are speaking to everybody. Yes, they speak to everybody. But within them are differences in Gospels. And there's a conversation going to different groups of people. I went and did a little search, and I just brought up this one. Different Gospels, different audience. This is from Reddit. And you can see somebody's answer. The very, very basic tradition is that Matthew is written to the Jewish people, Mark to the Romans, Luke generally to the Gentiles. Okay? But all Scripture is written for everyone. Okay? I didn't write this. This isn't somebody from Ministry Revealed. But guess what? Most people that studies the Scriptures and the Gospels understand that there is this context of a different conversation taking place. Well, what we've revealed here in this ministry and what this 30-minute intro is, we got 3-hour videos that continue on this, but this 30-minute intro is to show you that the differences in those Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that the different stories or the same stories that have different words or different counts in them. Like in Luke, Jesus goes to the cross, and before going to the cross, he's arrayed in a gorgeous robe, which means white, radiant, beautiful, like a bride. In Mark, he's arrayed in purple, and in Matthew, he's arrayed in scarlet. Why? Why didn't they all just say a gorgeous white robe? You see, it's not just that they're written to different people. There's something else happening there, and this happens all throughout the Gospels, in particular with the synoptic Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And we've revealed here over the last 7 years and change that what the Gospels are telling us, the differences in the Gospels within their stories, every single time, dozens and dozens and dozens of times, they are all telling us about prophecy. It will blow your mind. That's what this intro is right here. Excuse me. And what you're also going to notice is that the first will be last, the last will be first. Matthew, Mark, Luke, in the end, is Luke, Mark, Matthew. And what does it reveal later on? What does it then lead into? the next 30-minute intro, which is about the years of tribulation. We've all been told that the tribulation is 7 years long. The reality is it's 14 years long, 2 sets of 7, and a small period of time called above. And it sounds crazy. This is where most people shake their heads and say, you've lost your mind. Nope, you just haven't yet understood it. It is everywhere from the beginning of the creations all the way to the end of Revelation. The revelation is 7 years of seals, 7 years of trumpets. There's a small period of time called above. It starts with the pre-trib. There's 50 days, and then the 14 years, excuse me, begin. It's 7 years to Mark's group, 7 years to Matthew's group. That's the revelation. And the reason everybody has only believed it's 7 years is because of teaching number 4. Video number 4 is the answer. It's all because of Matthew. We have all been taught foundationally for hundreds and hundreds of years that we're taught from the Gospels, but all of the focus, 98% of the focus, is in the Gospel of Matthew. And because of that, it has never been understood why Mark and Luke are what they're saying. Even though people have understood there's different audiences. It ended with just this debate of what those audiences are, who those audiences are. The revelation of the end of days proves it here. And we can show that because everybody's foundation is in Matthew, specifically in the prophecies in Matthew 24, everybody only sees 7,000 years, 7 years of tribulation. They think everybody goes pre-trib first, or they believe in a mid and then everybody goes, or there's nothing and they believe in a post-trib. What all of this will reveal to you is that pre, mid, and post is all true over a period above and throughout the 14 years. The pre-trib bride of Christ, Gentile bride, Luke, goes first at the beginning of the above. The mid-trib great multitude rapture of the church goes in the 7th year of seals. And the return of the Lord, feet down on the Mount of Olives, is at the 14th year of tribulation. It is all throughout the entirety of Scripture. It'll blow your mind. All right? So these are the first 4 that we always teach to go into first. And you can do that, as I said, by going to the playlist here, or you can go to ministryrevealed.com, come to the menu right here. See, there's another donate link, but you can go right here into the intro, which is the page we're on. The other thing you'll hear me talk about is forum. So many people, there's about 1,400 people in the forum from all over the world. It's free to sign up, takes about 5-10 seconds to sign up, and you can post about news and events, excuse me, prayer requests, Bible studies going on, all sorts of things with like-minded brothers and sisters diligently seeking and searching all over the world. Okay? But here's another place you can come and watch the intro series as well. And if you want to download the videos, it's a simple one-click download to your whatever device you're watching on. All right? So it's awesome. For those that don't know, if you're newer, here's our mission and our ministry with Steve over in Uganda. Just to show you guys a little bit of it. They print the Ministry Revealed books in Uganda, and we give them away for free with Bibles and food, and you see all sorts of things, medicines and, clothing. This is our brother Steve right here. He's teaching with the Ministry Revealed book. There's some of his team out there that's going all over Uganda and throughout Uganda and around Uganda. Awesome. And here's some of our brothers and sisters we got pictures of, those that have sent them in. So, awesome stuff. All right? So with that, let's get tonight going. Excuse me. I have a little frog left in there. Oh, I shouldn't say that, right? That sounds like the frogs of Revelation. I don't want somebody saying, "Oh, no." No, I don't know if it's a Canadian thing or a French Canadian thing, but we'd say you have a frog in your throat when you're all choked up like that. Anyways, all right, let's get going. We're going to go to Isaiah 66. What you're going to see, you see, we showed in the last teaching, it was such an awesome revelation, especially for those who have understood the revelations, the that have been around for a while and have understood what I just went through in the intro. When we get to this, what we did in the last one, and have shown how people have studied and shown that the chapters of Isaiah are revealed within the books of the Bible. 66 chapters, 66 books. People love to argue and say, oh, but the chapters and the verses, they were all added later. We've proven here in this ministry that the chapters and verses are absolutely as Holy Spirit led as those who wrote the words. We have proven it. We have shown it over and over and over again. And what happened in the last one? We were able to show that chapter 40, 41, and 42 in the prophetic, by going backwards like Luke, Mark, Matthew, 42, 41, 40, was an exact conversation of the Lord coming at the beginning, after the pre-trib as the Son of Man, them coming at the end of seals, and then what takes place later at the end of seals unto mid-trumpets. It was awesome. Now, anybody that's new, I wouldn't expect you guys to get it and to understand it until you go through some of that playlist and study these things. But it was awesome. It was awesome to see it just unravel and open the way it did. Well, if that's the case, then we should be able to go to the 66th book, I keep mixing it up, the 66th chapter of Isaiah, and clearly be able to connect it to the 66th book of the Bible, which is, of course, Revelation. And with that being the case, what should it be about? It should be about tribulation, of course, right? It should be about not only the end and the Lord destroying all the enemies, but it should have parts and pieces of things all throughout the book of Revelation. Because the 66th chapter is supposed to relate just as 42, 41, and 40 did with Luke, Mark, and Matthew. Well, let's have a look and see what we find. And of course, because I'm doing a teaching on it, that's exactly what we're going to see. And you're going to see through the first 6 verses, the conversation is literally the end. It's this time of the destruction and right? It's like the end of trumpets time and the Lord then ruling, and then it goes back to the beginning, and it goes throughout tribulation. It talks about the Gentiles. It talks about a group taken from among them who will bring the Gentiles in. Do you realize this? You're going to see when we get in this, that all these things that we've spoken about are in this chapter. These things that we've taught on about the book of Revelation that have led us into so many other chapters and books throughout the Bible are so many of them packed right here within Isaiah 66. Even to the point of a group that's escaped that has come back to help bring in the Gentiles. What? Oh, and then after that group is brought in, there's another group he's going to take him to himself from among the Levites and as priests that he takes on after those guys are done. It's all right here in one chapter. It's so awesome. So let's go digging into this, and we'll go into these key verses and look up the definitions and search out some of these words. Of course, you can see the first one. The word footstool. Let's start with Isaiah 66:1. Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Okay? This is a word we know quite well. You go look up the word for footstool, and look at these places we find it. In Psalms 110, Psalms 132, and the connection with Isaiah 66. Well, look what happens when we go to Psalms 110. What does it say? The Lord said unto my Lord, so the Father said unto the Son, sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. What do we know about Psalms 110? Psalms 110 is about the end of seals. Okay? When the Lord comes, the rod of his strength, rule in the midst of Zion, or rule out of Zion in the midst of his enemies. Okay, this is something we just talked about in the last one when we were in Matthew, and we see that we know at the end of seals, the Lord is here. He's there on Mount Zion, having come with paradise. And what do we know happens? He's still going to be ruling in the midst of his enemies because he still has his work before him, right? Well, this doesn't say it's his footstool yet, okay? It says, until I make thine enemies thy footstool. Well, the enemies won't be his footstool until the end. And this is what I was telling you, that it starts with the end. And then it goes from verse 7, it starts at the beginning of tribulation, and then it gives us a bunch of details throughout. So, what about Psalms 132? Where was that? Psalms 132. Okay? We will go into his tabernacles, and we will worship at his footstool. Well, if we go to our chapters to years, and we go to Psalms 132, ta-da! It's at the end of tribulation. It's a prophetic time at the end of the 14 years. Chapters to years. If you're new, don't worry about this. This is a much more detailed thing. But for those that have been around, it just so happens it's connected also to Psalms 132. Where else is something like this connected? So that we can understand it's at the end. How about 1 Corinthians 15? Watch this. But now is Christ risen from the dead and become the firstfruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, by man cometh also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive, but every man in his order. Christ the firstfruits, afterward they that are Christ's at his coming. Okay? We know that first group, right? We know who that represents. Then comes the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to God, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and authority and power. For he must reign. Remember, we were just showing this in Psalms 110 as well, right? For he must reign till he hath put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. For he hath put all things under his feet. But when he saith all things are put under him, it is manifest that he is expected which did put all things under him. All of this conversation, it's not saying footstool, but it's the same conversation. It's the same understanding of when all will be put under him. Again, where is this all coming from? From the word footstool that starts us all off in Isaiah 66 as the book of Revelation, being the end, starting with the end, and then laying out what's going to be coming during tribulation. Look at verse 3. Oh, this is awesome. It's so wild. Watch this. He that killeth an ox is as if he slew a man. He that sacrificeth a lamb, as he cut off a dog's neck. What? What? Remember, this is kind of going in reverse order, right? From the end. Now, the lamb is obvious, and we know it's Christ, of course, right? Well, one is Christ as the sacrificial lamb, which he already was, but he's represented here as a dog's neck or as a dog. What? What about the ox? The killing of an ox, as if he slew a man. So you have Christ as the lamb represented as one cutting off a dog's neck, so a dog, and the other one being represented as, you know it, Christ at the end, right? At the end of the 13th year of tribulation, at the end of the 6th trumpet, he that killeth an ox, as if he slew a man. Now, what do we know about these two? Of course, we know the lamb is Christ. Okay? When he came the first time, he was the sacrificial lamb, but he's being represented as a dog. Okay? I'm not saying Christ is a dog. Okay? I'm saying as if a dog's neck was cut off. There's a reference here to a dog. Well, when Christ came the first time, Wasn't he from Judah? Of course he was, right? In the end, he's going to be the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And when he came the first time, he was from the house of Judah. When he comes at the end of seals, what do we know he's coming as? Well, we just saw it, right? We just saw it right here in Psalms 110. When he comes as high priest and king, when he's coming after the order of Melchizedek, he's coming as Messiah ben Joseph / Messiah ben Ephraim. You guys all know this, right? So if we go to Leviticus 1, what do we know? We know that there was the ox sacrifice for the priests. We know that there's the lamb sacrifice, which was Christ. And we know the 2 turtle doves, which had to do with his birth. Okay? So he was what? The sacrificial lamb without blemish. And what do we know he is in the end? We know he's the bullock. He is the ox for the sacrifice, because the priests are not part of the world. They're not part of Israel. They belong to the Lord, and they haven't had their sacrifice yet, right? So we know there's 2 representations. One is Judah, right? And the other as Ephraim. And at the end, Ephraim and Judah together, when the 2 rods come together and everybody's done. Okay? Well, what are the chances? The ox as the man, and the sacrificial lamb as a dog. When he came the first time, he was of the tribe of Judah. Well, let's go look at something. Let's go to, where is it? Numbers 13, and let's see if we can find this double connection. Watch this. Remember this? Caleb and Hosea, right? And then Hosea gets his name changed from Hosea, son of Nun, to Joshua, Yeshua, right? Jesus, we know this prophetic picture is for the end of seals, right? So what do we have? One from Judah, one from Ephraim. When Christ came the first time, he was from the tribe of Judah. When he's coming at the end of seals, we know he's coming as Ephraim, the firstborn. We know he's coming as high priest and king. We can even show it in Jeremiah 31. All right? My firstborn Ephraim. It's Yeshua, Joshua, whose name was Hosea. Well, what's Ephraim? We already know that very well, don't we? Ephraim is represented as the ox, the bullock, Ephraim, when he comes at the end of 6 years of seals. Do you know what Caleb is? Remember, what are we looking at? One is the bullock, the ox. We know that this is what's happening as the bullock, the ox, at the end of the 6th year of trumpets. And who does it represent? Ephraim. So who would the sacrificial lamb represent connected to the dog? It would have been Christ the first time, right? Of course it would have been Christ the first time. And who was Christ the first time? He was Judah. Who was Judah in this picture? In the typology from the ox and the lamb? It's Caleb. Do you know what Caleb's name means? Caleb's name is from the word dog. A dog. Tribe of Judah, dog. Ephraim, Jesus, ox, when he comes at the end. He came as the tribe of Judah, who was the sacrificial lamb the first time, and the context is telling us, excuse me, in 66, that the final one is as the ox, and we know that the one that came before was the lamb. And we've got a reference to a dog. Look what comes next. It says, and he that offereth an oblation, as if he offered swine's blood, he that burneth incense, as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations. What do we know happens in tribulation? There are two abominations, right? There's one at Midish seals, and there's one at Midish trumpets. There are two abominations. We know that Christ was the sacrificial lamb, and he's represented as Caleb in that typology. And in the end, we know he's the ox. We know that those that have fallen to the enemy, that delight in their abominations, and in their killing of the ox, Ephraim, and in their sacrifice of the lamb. I will also choose their delusions, their vexation, a tyrant. Okay? Let's keep reading the rest of 4. And will bring their fears upon them, because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear, but they did evil before mine eyes, and chose that which I delighted not. Hear the word of the Lord, you that tremble at his word. Your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let the Lord be glorified. Excuse me, I don't know why my voice is so cracky tonight. Let the Lord be glorified, they're trying to say. But listen to this. But he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. Does that sound familiar? And appearing to joy and shame to others? Let's see where this leads us. This is just a search for the word appear. Okay? It's all throughout Scripture, but within the discourses, it's only found in Matthew chapter 24, verse 30. What are the chances? Remember what we were saying? All of this first section here is connected to the end of tribulation, to the end of days. You see, even the ox having been killed, right? As you guys understand what that means. So where do you think this should appear? This is going to take place. It's talking about the end, okay? The end of tribulation. And where do we have it? Look at this. When is the coming of the Lord as lightning that shineth from the west? It's at his appearing. What people don't understand, if they're newer, is that Matthew's discourse is the 7 years of trumpets, and the Lord comes at the end of 6 to that 7th year of trumpets. This appearing is the Lord coming feet down on the Mount of Olives. So I thought, okay, this is just the word appear, okay? It just so happens, out of all the discourses, it's only in Matthew related to the coming of Christ, which is the exact same context being spoken about in Isaiah 66. It's like it's all going in reverse at the very end, and then it's going to start at the beginning. Now, watch what happens. I thought, well, let's go look up what Matthew 24, what that word appear, G53:16. And let's see if that appears in other discourses. And guess what? It doesn't. This is the one speaking solely of the coming of Christ when he returns feet down on the Mount of Olives. And look at this. It's actually used twice. And where's the other one? For as lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Do you think that's by chance? The only time the word appears in the discourses is right here. And you go look up the word, and it's connected to the only other place it happens in the discourses, and it's the same discourse talking about the same timing. It's not like in another part of Matthew's discourse where it's during the trumpets time. No, it's about the coming of the Lord when he returns at the 14th year. Funny how that works, right? Well, let me show you something else. This word, when I did the search just for appear, if you go and keep searching, it's used one time in the book of Revelation. And look at where it appears. Revelation 3:18. What do we know about Revelation 3:18? I don't know if I still have the book opened. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, right here. All right. What do we know about the book of Revelation and Laodicea? It doesn't only start tribulation, but it's also what? The end of tribulation. Right? The apostasy right to the end at the time of the coming of the Lord. And what do we know about what Revelation 3:18 tells us? It says, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear. You see that? Another connection with the same word, only found in Revelation 3:18, which is Laodicea speaking to the end of the tribulation, as you guys have seen taught many times over the years. Well, let's just really hammer this down. Let's really see by reading the rest of it. But he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. Isn't that exactly what it says? Isn't that exactly what we just read? That thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness does not appear. When's he talking about? Revelation 3:18. This is at his return, feet down on the Mount of Olives. Shame and appear. There will be those in the shame of their nakedness when the Lord appears. Again, all connected to this first section of Isaiah 66, speaking to the end. Okay? Let's go a little bit further. Connected even more. Isaiah 66:6. A voice, a noise from the city, a voice from the temple. A voice of the Lord, okay? A voice from the temple. Watch this. What are the chances, following the trajectory we've been on through the first 6 verses here, what are the chances that this verse is only found at the end? Ta-da! The only time you see that same wording is in Revelation 16, verse 17. And the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple. Again, remember, we know even with the bowl judgments, they will take place in that end of the 13th year, start 14th, all in that timing of the Lord when he returns feet down. Well, what's the context we were just looking at? The exact same thing. To their shame, to your joy, they have gone through abominations, the sacrifice of the ox, until the time that everything is put under his footstool. Okay? Or everything becomes his footstool. And then what does it say? A voice of the Lord that rendereth recompense to his enemies. Okay? So he's going to give recompense unto his enemies. Let's go see where that word's found. What do you think the chances are that it's connected to the end? Kind of a broken record now, isn't it? How about looking at Joel chapter 3? Remember the revelation of Joel in order? How about going even to Jeremiah 51? Okay? For this is the time of the Lord's vengeance, and he will render unto her recompense. What do we know that is? That's, of course, at the return of the Lord to bring vengeance on all his enemies, and then it's the decree, the declaration of the Jubilee after that year. What do we know about Joel in order? We've got a teaching. If somebody wants to go scroll through and look for it, we have the books of Joel in order, chapter 1, 2, and 3, from the time of the beginning, the middle, and the end of the 3 comings of the Lord. Somebody says 3 comings of the Lord. Are you crazy? No, it's all in the scriptures. He's coming as the Son of Man for 40 days, as he said he would, as Jonah. He's coming at the end of the 6 years of seals, just as so many of the Jews understand the Messiah ben Joseph ben Ephraim coming, who's going to destroy their enemies that destroyed them. It will destroy them and will establish and rebuild the kingdom. That is the Lord there. And then we know when he's there as the ox, something happens at the end of the 6th year of trumpets, and then he returns feet down on the Mount of Olives. 3. Okay? 3. Just like the Gospels. And what do we know? Joel 1, 2, 3 is the same thing. So, isn't it fitting that Joel chapter 3 talks about the recompense? In verse 4, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because you have taken my silver and gold and all of those things, right? And then what does it say? Verse 7, behold, I will raise them out of the place whither I have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. Funny how that works, right? The entire storyline of the first 6 verses is all about the end of tribulation. Clearly, Isaiah 66 should be all about tribulation. It should all have references back to the book of Revelation. And indeed it does. And it's almost like, in my thinking on it, is this first piece is almost like a proclamation in the first 6 verses that it's to the book of Revelation, that it's about bringing everything to the end. That's what it strikes me as. But now, it's about to change speed. We come to verse 7. And those of you who have been around for a while, you know where I'm going with this. Give me a second. It's not really cold here, but it's cool. So, all right. So, those of you, like I said, who have been around for a bit, you know exactly what this is about. This is Isaiah 66:7, and where it all began for me about 7.5 years ago on September 8th, 2017, when my life in prophecy and in revelation and understanding changed forever. Listen to what 66:7 says. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a manchild. Lo and behold, that will take us, as you know, to the beginning of it all. Revelation chapter 12 in verse 2. Verse 1, of course, the great wonder, the woman clothed with the sun, right? Moon under her feet, crown of 12 stars. I'm going to show you guys something about this. In an upcoming teaching, I'm going to show you this in relation to when we go into the count, when we go into the calendars. Excuse me, I'm going to show you something about verse 1. I was surprised. So verse 2, this is where it gets interesting. So what we've talked about on this for years is that the pre-trib, the pre-trib bride of Christ is gone somewhere from the end of verse 2 to the from the end of verse 1 to the start of verse 2. Okay? And it's the revelation of Isaiah 66 verse 7. And this is where it all started for me. This is when I knew, because everybody back at the time of Revelation 12 in 2017, they were all saying that this was the rapture. The was caught up unto God and to his throne. Well, this is the rapture. This is the mid-trib great multitude rapture of Revelation chapter 7. But I always remembered what Isaiah said, and in that moment, it dawned on me. Because what did it say? Before she travailed, she brought forth. Okay? So before the travailing. And what does it say? And she, being with child, cried travailing. That means before this happens, excuse me, before this crying in travail, before that happens, she's going to bring forth. That's your pre-trib right there. That is the pre-trib right there. Before the travail she brought forth. And then what does it say? Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Which means during the travail, but before the pain. Okay? So during the travail is when she brought forth the man-child, which came before the pain. So if we go to Revelation chapter 12, we know that when she cried travailing, once this has started, the bride is already gone because she brought forth before the travailing. But then what did it say? Before the pain. Before the pain, she was delivered of a man-child, which means at the time of travailing is the prophetic picture of what this is saying of when the Son of Man is coming for 40 days. And what have we revealed over the years? That this right here is the 40 days of the Son of Man. And what is the pain to be delivered? This word pained is a crazy word. When you look at the definition, we'll go to Revelation chapter 12. And where are we? Travailed, okay? The travailing in birth, that's the 40 days of the Son of Man after the pre-trib. And pained, which is a separate thing going on. Look what it is. To torture. Pain, toil, torment, toss, vex. This is representing the first about 2.5 years of tribulation of the 14 years. It's the time of World War III before the beast is given his power to continue, which is the about second half of seals. Okay? Isn't that awesome? I always find it so amazing because I love it when I get to come back and just touch on this revelation that all started over 7 years ago. It all started because I kept hearing people say Revelation 12:5 was the pre-trib rapture. Yet it came after the travailing. It came after the pain. It comes after the beast gets his power and authority. It comes after a third of the stars being cast to the earth. It comes after the Son of Man then coming to rule with the rod of iron. You see, this is all seals. All of this is your 40 days and your 6 years of seals until the 7th year caught up to the throne. This is the was caught up rapture that goes to paradise. The pre-trib is going to the third heaven. That's the difference in the two pre-tribs. I mean, in the two raptures. One is pre, one is mid. One goes to the third heaven. The other one goes to paradise, which is the place he's coming with prepared. All right? What else do we got? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. Verse 10. Isaiah 66, verse 10. Rejoice ye with Jerusalem, and be glad with her. All you that love her, rejoice for joy with her, all you that mourn for her. So we're to be rejoicing at this time of mourning. Why do you think that is? How about Zechariah chapter 1? Remember I said everything's now kind of taking us to the beginning and then taking us through it? Watch this. One place we go to all the time at this beginning of the time of the destruction coming upon Jerusalem. And what do we read? These 70 years, which I finally believe we are in the final 70th year. It is the final option of all options. And we now understand it as we hadn't all these years, that it's connected to Jerusalem and not Israel. And what does it say? In verse 14, in the midst of these 70 years, so the angel that communed with me said unto me, cry thou, saying, thus saith the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion. No, that's not what I wanted. Where is it? Oh yeah, it was this one right here, verse 12. Then the angel of the Lord answered and said, O Lord of hosts, how long will you not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah, against which you have had indignation these 70 years. Now, what does this have to do with what I was showing in Isaiah 66? Jerusalem's about to be destroyed. You see, most Jews don't know that. There are some Jews that are aware that Jerusalem and Israel will be destroyed, but most don't. And those that have heard it, most don't believe it. We know it's coming in prophecy. We know it's for disobedience. We know the land has to rest for 7 years before the temple can be built. He's not going to build it on that defiled land. So you see, this destruction and all of this coming on Jerusalem, and the mourning that's taking place is supposed to be a time of rejoicing in the midst of this mourning for her. For the people? No, for the land. For the land. Because of all of the defilement that's been taking place, the destruction needed to come to remove them from the land so that the land can rest. And in this mourning, we should be rejoicing. Aha, now it makes sense, doesn't it? Because why? Because it's all prophecy, guys. Oh, and just to add a little more to the mix, when does this happen? When does this take place? Well, if we're to connect it to the book of Revelation, it connects right here starting in Revelation 6, verse 3. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. Okay? So what ends up happening, this is the end of 50 days, as you guys know. Okay? The white horse rider is the Son of Man when he comes for 40 days. They'll be compassed about. The anointing of Acts 2.0 of the Holy Ghost will take place. And then the Holy Ghost will go. This group that was anointed from the Luke group will then go out from Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is attacked and destroyed. Just as Jeremiah chapter 4 tells us. Same sequence. Peace is taken from the earth at this point. And what's given? A great sword that they should kill one another. It's nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And where does it start? Jerusalem, just as Luke 21 said. Luke 21 told us that while the Son of Man is here for 40 days as that white horse rider, he's going to be warning as Jonah did, and he's warning over Jerusalem. Okay? He's warning the Jews, he's warning them that they're about to be compassed about and destroyed. And what happens at the red horse rider? Peace is removed and destruction begins. That starts nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, people against people, neighbor against neighbor. It begins at Jerusalem. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. This destruction coming upon Jerusalem, which is why there's a mourning, and he's saying, rejoice for her, because now she will have her rest. You see what's happening? This whole shift from verse 7 started to now have a conversation of the things taking place in the beginning. Let's go to verse 12. Now watch what's happening. Now, remember, it's only one chapter, right? So you've only got a few verses to portray this picture of the end. Watch where we are now. Verse 12. For thus saith the Lord, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. Then shall ye suck, and you shall be borne upon her sides, and dandled upon her knees. What do you see happening here? Now he's extending peace. When does peace get extended? During seals in the midst of all the destruction? No. Not until the end of seals. But right away at the end of the 6th year of seals? No, because the Lord's bringing destruction upon everybody else. When does the peace take place? We know the peace takes place. It is the Lord that makes this covenant. At the end of seals, at that 7th seal. And what happens when we go to Zechariah, 14 chapters to 14 years? What happens when we go to chapter 8? We see the Lord is no longer jealous for her, right? He's not jealous anymore like he was. It says, I was. I'm not am like chapter 1. It's now the holy mountain of the Lord. And you remember what he says in verse 10? For before these days, so what do we see? The Lord is now there. Heavenly Mount Zion has come down. The great multitude rapture has happened. And now it's time that they're going to be starting to rebuild. The remnant of the house of Israel has come in. Judah is now come in. And what does it say? They're about to start rebuilding. They're going to rebuild the temple starting in that first year of trumpets. And then what does it say in verse 10? For before these days there was no man for hire, nor any nor hire for beast, neither was there any peace to him that went out or came in because of the affliction. For I set all men every one against his neighbor. Hello. There was no peace, because at the red horse rider, peace was removed. And all were set against their neighbors. That's nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. It started in Jerusalem. See, there was no peace. But now the Lord has come. He's destroyed all the enemies. The 144 sealed, the great multitude Gentile rapture has come in. And now they're going to start rebuilding. And who established this time of peace now? The Lord, even though he's what? Ruling in the midst of his enemies. Jerusalem is going to be protected. Jerusalem has had a 7-year Sabbath of rest. The land itself. It's pretty wild. Especially, it's once you include in that the chapters were to books, that it all started to open up. I started looking through those end time eyes, and it really started to open up. But like I said in the last one, we needed to understand what happens to Judah, that they also come in after the great multitude rapture. Okay, they're not going to the paradise place. They're going back to Jerusalem where the mountain of the Lord is, but they're not going to paradise. They're going back to the land to rebuild and so forth. Okay, it's not just the Gentiles going and then the house of Israel, that the remnant of the house of Israel, but then also Judah. Okay, and we see that, of course, in all over the place. Jeremiah 31, the same timing. Zechariah chapter 8, the beginning of trumpets, same thing. So you see, this is all that end of seals, that 7th year seals time frame. Let's go to verse 13. As one whom his mother comforteth, so will I comfort you, and you shall be comforted in Jerusalem. Okay? So again, in Jerusalem, they're going to be comforted. 21, Zechariah 8. Okay, so we see this again in Jerusalem. There's so many places we can go. In fact, we can just go right back to Zechariah chapter 8. In Zechariah chapter 8, where are they going to be comforted? They're going to be brought back to Jerusalem. Okay? Because the Lord is no longer jealous, but what does it say in verse 3? Thus saith the Lord, I am returned unto Zion, and will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called a city of truth, the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain. And where are they being brought back? It says he's bringing them all back. Jeremiah 31 told us, right, that he's bringing them all back. They'll be gathered there. They're gathered to the mountain of the Lord and brought back to Jerusalem. So again, this same conversation and timing, it's all focused from almost like key points. It's not that there isn't a whole bunch of stuff that happens throughout the midst of seals and the midst of trumpets, but the focus is always at these key points, kind of the beginning, the middle, and the end. Okay, and that's what we're seeing here again. Let's go to, let's finish reading 14. And when you shall see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb, and the hand of the Lord shall be known toward his servants, and his indignation toward his enemies. Remember, there were servants during seals, and then he's going to bring his indignation, this destruction at the end of seals over his enemies. Verse 15, for behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. What? Sounds familiar too, doesn't it? But it's not the end of tribulation. It is, where is it? Where do I have that one? Joel chapter 2. How about this? What do we know about Joel chapter 2? Joel chapter 2 is to the end of seals, right? And what do we see about Joel chapter 2? Okay? A fire devoureth before them, and behind them like a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains. You see, flames of fire, chariots, and what are we talking about? This period of the end of seals. We know that it's a sword of fire. Okay? We know there's a pleading with all flesh. Then what are we going to see? Watch this. Let's go look real quick at plead with all flesh and see where that one even comes up. That might even be at the end. Okay? For by fire, by a sword, and the Lord will plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Ooh, this is actually, this part here in Isaiah 66:16 doesn't have a context to the end of seals. This has a context to the end of trumpets. Because it's Jeremiah 25:31. Watch this. Jeremiah 25:31. It's a place you guys know very well. Oh, sorry, not 31. 25. 25:31. We know this as the connection to what? The treading of the grapes, right? The winepress of the wrath of Almighty God. The cup of the Lord's wrath to make all nations drink. And what do we know it says? Watch what it says. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Begin to bring evil. He will tread the inhabitants to the ends of the earth. Let me see where that was. Oh, yeah, verse 31. Okay? He will roar from his habitation mightily. He shall give a shout as they tread the grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for the Lord has a controversy with the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith the Lord. And it's going to be what? People lying dead from one end of the earth to the other. We really don't understand what's coming at the end of tribulation, right? Or throughout tribulation. You know, we say it often. What is coming is far beyond anything we can comprehend, especially that timing of mid-seals and mid-trumpets to the end. It's craziness. Watch this. Let's keep going. This context here again of mid-seals, watch, or of mid-trib. Isaiah 66:18. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. Now listen to this. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escaped. Those that have escaped. Those that escaped. Carried away. Remember, the word carry away is only found in Luke's resurrection chapter 24. Carried away is in Luke's. Received up is in Mark's. And returning to them is in Matthew's. It's wild, right? It's those differences every time, right? So look at what we're seeing. So again, it's more stuff happening in the tribulation. And he's telling us that he will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory. Listen to this. And they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. There's that Gentile conversation again. You have a group that escaped. We know that there's a group from the escaped that are going to remain to go out among the Gentiles. And they're going to be the ones bringing what? They're going to be the ones bringing in the great multitude of Gentiles that was talked about up here. Listen to what it says next. Where am I? And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations, upon horses and in chariots and in litters and upon mules and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem. Isn't this exactly what we teach? Isn't there a group from among the escaped that are going to go into all nations, beginning from Jerusalem, that will declare it and make it known unto the Gentiles, to bring in the Gentiles? But what do we know now? Not only the Gentiles are we bringing in, we're also going to be bringing in the remnant of the house of Israel. Hello. The remnant of the house of Israel. The Gentiles are the ones grafted into the house of Israel. The Gentiles are going to be going, taking in the great mid-trib, and the remnant who will have awakened, as well as the Gentiles during seals, will make their way back to then Jerusalem. Where is he bringing them? Where are they going to bring them? Not only the Gentiles, but their brethren, which is the house of Israel, maybe also Judah. They're going to bring them back to Jerusalem, to the mountain of the Lord. Well, where do we see that? Well, again, we can go to Joel chapter 2, and we see it right here. Joel chapter 2, verse 31, the sun shall be turned into darkness, the moon to blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord, the sixth seal. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. Listen to this. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, isn't that exactly what it just said? Shall be delivered, for in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord hath said, and in the remnant whom the Lord shall call. Who's going to be calling on the name of the Lord during seals? The Gentiles. Remember, there are people that have died throughout the years that have called and believed on Christ, but haven't really lived it. They're probably in paradise. Those that have loved the Lord and they've been like Enoch and diligently sought him, they're going to be in the third heaven. And then what do we know about the remnant? So here we are talking about the Gentiles being brought in, those calling on the name of the Lord, and they're going to be delivered where? To Mount Zion, which is paradise. And the group of the remnant are being delivered to where Mount Zion is, but in Jerusalem. It's the same conversation as Isaiah. And what do we know about Joel chapter 2? Of course, we know it's the end of seals. What else is it? Oh, I don't want to forget this part. Of course, what else do we know it is? It's Revelation chapter 7. Right? You're going to have then the 100. Oh, we're going to have the 144,000 sealed. So there's going to have to be another group of priests, right? Levites, priests, that are going to have to then come on board, that will serve the Lord for what comes next after this great multitude is brought in. What is this great multitude? This is the great multitude rapture, right? This is the mid-trib, the Gentiles and the remnant of Israel going back. And we know that there's going to be another group of workers then chosen, called the 144, that will then serve the Lord in that final year of seals, but really have their work in the time of trumpets. Well, let's see what Isaiah has to say next. It's so wild. I had never looked at it with these eyes before. It's so wild. Okay? So now we've seen more of this conversation. This first group that went out from the escaped, right? The Luke remnant workers we always talk about. They're going to declare it among the nations to the Gentiles, and they're going to be going, as we know, in the great multitude rapture, and they're going to bring the remnant of their brethren, the of the house of Israel, and they're going to make their way to Jerusalem. It's so awesome. And listen what it says next. Let's finish that at verse 20. Saith the Lord, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of the Lord. See? So again, the children of Israel, that's that remnant that'll go back to Jerusalem, as we've been teaching a fair bit lately. Now listen to what comes next. Excuse me. Isaiah 66 verse 21. Now listen to this. And I will also take of them for priests, for Levites, and for Levites, saith the Lord. Well, well, well. Isn't that what we just saw? What do we know? What have we taught for years? That the 144,000 are taken from among what? The great multitude. Because the Gentiles are the church. The Gentiles are the grafted in Gentiles, right? All over the world. Some will fall away, more will come in, and in the midst of seals, even more will come in. It'll be the greatest revival in human history in the midst of the greatest chaos, as we always say. But what else do we show? We know that the 144,000 are from among the group of quote-unquote Gentiles, which the house of Israel also is as well, remember? The Gentiles are grafted into the house of Israel. And there's two places we can prove this, and have proven it. You remember this? In Mark chapter 15, when Jesus is arrayed in purple, right? Purple is the group going through seals. It represents the church, right? You know what's interesting? When I just read that other piece earlier, that some would say on the simplest way that Matthew is written to the Jews, Mark is written to the Romans, they would say, and Luke to the Gentiles. Well, Romans being the church. And what? Purple. Right? With the Catholic Church, a lot of purple, right? I thought that was interesting, a little side note. But generally, it's the world, right? Don't forget, the Catholic Church claims all of Christendom, right? Even though we know there's the separation. They claim all of Christendom regardless. Well, that's the church, guys. The church is going in the mid-trib great multitude. And I'm not saying all of Rome is going, right? I'm not saying all the Catholic Church is going. I'm saying those who will call on the name of the Lord during seals, okay? Will commit to the Lord having called on his name. But what do we know? That's the representation of purple in the different colors of the robes, garments that we see in Luke, Mark, Matthew, and to the book of Revelation, with the woman riding the beast, arrayed in purple and scarlet. Okay? We know this represents the mid-trib great multitude rapture group. Well, do you remember what happens when we went to John? What happens when we went to John? We saw that there was another purple, that Jesus was arrayed in another purple. And the 4209 is the purple from Mark's group. And what did we just show from Isaiah 66? That the priestly Levitical group is going to be what? From among them. The groups that had just come in. The great multitude in the house of Israel that had just come in. From among them, he's taking some for himself. And if they were purple, well, lo and behold, John's gospel has purple. Doesn't have gorgeous, doesn't have scarlet, it has purple. And what do we know about John's portion from chapter 15 to the end? It's the time of trumpets. Remember? It's the time of trumpets. So this would represent the purple of the 144,000. Well, it just so happens it's the word 4210, not 4209. And check it out. It comes from 4209, which is the one that represents Mark. This is awesome because this is exactly what we're reading in Isaiah 66, and we've been teaching this for years. You want to know where else we taught it? In Revelation chapter 14, about the 144,000. What does it say? And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads, which means on, okay, just so you're aware. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder, and I heard the voice of harps harping with their harps, and they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. You see, they're redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb wheresoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. What firstfruits are they? They're not the firstfruits of Romans 16. They're the firstfruits of 1 Corinthians 16. They're the second firstfruits. They're the firstfruits of the grapes. That first worker of those that had escaped that will go out to the nations of the Gentiles, those are the firstfruits of the wheat. This is the firstfruits of the grapes. And they were redeemed from among men on the earth. And what is it? Who are they connected to? The great multitude rapture of Revelation chapter 7. Isaiah is telling us the two worker groups during seals and trumpets. He's explained them both. I thought that was wild. Here it is right here, right? Verse 21, Isaiah 66. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith the Lord. Awesome. As we bring it to an end, Isaiah 66:22. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of men that have transgressed against me, and their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. People think that this is all just metaphor, that people aren't going to see these things taking place, and remind them during the millennial reign of what's taken place. We've talked about it before. Imagine during the millennial reign and new people are being born throughout those hundreds of years. They've never experienced the history of the chaos, and they've lived in all of their life in peace. But people are still going to be living in flesh. They're not going to be perfect. They're going to be living hundreds of years again. The Lord will have renewed, remember? The Lord will have what? Renewed the earth. It's not the brand new earth. It's the refreshing of the earth, the rebuilding, the repairing. And what do we know that is? We talked about it in the last one. It's Ezekiel chapter 47. Ezekiel 47. Ezekiel 47 is the picture when the Lord is going to be renewing the earth. Let me show you that real quick. Okay? This is literally, he's returned, he's destroyed the enemy, and at the end of the 14th year, in a Nissan to Nissan count, he's going to then pour out the waters. The waters are going to go out from the throne in that first half of the Jubilee. And it's going to renew and replenish and restore the earth. As we read here in Ezekiel chapter 47. All of these things. He's going to renew and replenish the earth, and people are going to live again for hundreds and hundreds of years. What do you think is going to happen? I think this is more of a reminder. Neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. Which means what? As people go to worship the Lord, they're going to be reminded of these things when they see it. Even those who never took part in it because they were born in the hundreds of years of the millennial reign. And yet, what do we know happens at the end of the millennial reign? All right? The Lord, at the end of tribulation, we have the destruction, we have the war. Here is the crushing of the grapes, the treading of the winepress of Almighty God, and we know that they will be all scattered across the earth. And then what happens? When the 1,000 years are over, somehow, some way, Satan is released, and for some reason, you have the final Gog and Magog, not the Gog of Magog, but you've got the final Gog and Magog battle. With all these nations believing in Satan and the lie. I think a lot of it is because people will have been living with the Lord there and will not want to submit to all of that year in and year out. That's what will come, because people will have grown up and be hundreds of years old, and that's all they've known, yet they're still what? They're still in flesh. They still have sin. It hasn't all been conquered yet. And this will give them a reason to say, yeah, let's turn, let's go get them. Because the enemy will go whisper in all of their ears. It's craziness. It's a blessing to know these things in advance so that we can warn, we can tell the people. But the people at that point, remember, then you've got the 12 tribes going out during the millennial reign. And according to Scripture, that won't even be enough, because they'll still come to turn. He's going to have people there dying and their worm never consuming them. And that won't even be enough to remind them that he's an all-powerful, all-consuming, all-loving, but that his judgments are righteous and true as well. It's crazy to think of. I don't even think any of us can really comprehend how something like that could really be possible. But you know what's great about that? I don't think we'll have to. Well, I know we won't have to. I believe this is a part of who we are right here. And I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to wake up the Gentiles, to bring them into the great multitude, for which some will have died. Some will have put their necks on the line. But you guys know what's coming next. When he comes, and when he returns feet down, we saw that judgment. We saw what Isaiah 66 was just telling us, that when he does return feet down in that final Laodicean age, and to some it will be to their shame, when he appears, we know that for those who have put their necks on the line, the Priscillas and the Aquillas, the Luke remnant, The Smyrna group, we know this, that when it begins, he's knocking on the door to that group, and he's going to come and sup with them and dine with them. And for those that have put their necks on the line and been sacrificed for him, when he returns feet down at that time, there is a group taking part, just as Isaiah said, a group that belongs to him, that will take part in the resurrection of the just. And this is their portion with him right here. Revelation 3:21, at the end of tribulation, to him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne. These are they, as you all know, who will take part in the first resurrection, which are those who will rule and reign with Christ for 1,000 years. Brothers and sisters, it was a short one today. You probably didn't expect it. Oh, you see, I always think, oh, you won't expect it because I teach as if I'm doing live or as if I'm standing at a podium. But I never know until I get started. I said the last one would be, and it really went longer than expected. Well, this one, because we were sticking just to Isaiah 66, brothers and sisters, this is the end. Isaiah 66 revealed to the book of Revelation, covering from the end to the beginning and throughout the middle, revealed in Isaiah 66 as the book of Revelation. Brothers and sisters, I pray it blesses you. I pray it brings you more joy in seeking and searching and being diligent. Go and spend some time in there. Brothers, sisters, I appreciate you. God bless you. God bless your families. If you can, remember, support the ministry, and we will see you again shortly. God bless you all. Bye for now.